certified in all the officers' guns, so if they get hit and go down, you can pick up a weapon and stay in the fight. Where, again, Rescue Task Force, our job is to take care of the casualties. If it's an officer, we're still gonna do it, but our job is casualty care. And again, the whole thing gets in here, so if you haven't looked at that yet, look at it. Even though you might not be an EMT, that's one of the things you probably should look at, that protocol on RTF. So TECC, the set of basic best practices recommended for casualty management. So this again is airway opening. Simple as that. How do you open an airway? Tilt the head back, right? Do we care about C-spine in this situation? We're not going to drag them around by their head, but when we look at open the airway, right? Open it up, recovery position, maybe they throw a nasal trumpet in there. That's basically it. And we're looking at wound care. You know, if somebody's bleeding, I got arterial bleed, spurting blood out, how long am I going to live? A few minutes, right? You put a tourniquet on there, how long am I going to live? Okay, got a lot better chance, don't I? You look at the military, anybody's been through basic training, you know, it's in the Army side, nasal trumpets, IVs, tourniquets. And their IVs they don't include, they just stick it in there, and as the blood's pouring out, they shove the thing in the hole, that's it. It's pretty simple to teach, so that's what we're looking at, life safety right away. Rapid assessment of life safety. So we take out, in our triage, we drop the yellow out. Yellow doesn't matter right now. They're either green, they're red, or they're black, that's it. We don't look at any other color that we deal with. Yellows, they don't look really good right now, but they'll probably be okay. That doesn't matter. Either they can get out of here on their own, or we're going to treat them. That's really what it falls down to. So it's simple that way too. So rapid assessment of victims, and then get into a safe place where we can do them. So again, if we're looking at, we got victims spread around in the hallways, hallway's probably not a good space for me to work on somebody, right? It's a funnel. The bullets fly, the smaller area that they are, the better shot they got at hitting me. So we want to get them out of that funnel. So we're going to take that person and drag them into a room, drag 2 or 3 of them into a room, and one person can work on 3 people, and then the rest of my team can maybe continue on to that next room where maybe there's more people hurt. And that's kind of the idea behind it. So hot zone. Hot zone is the direct threat zone. We don't know where the shooter is yet. The shooter's not been identified. Bullets are still flying. It's kind of like hazmat. If I'm in the hot zone, I'm potentially going to be exposed to something. Well, in this situation, that exposure is probably going to be bullets, an explosion, you know, a device like that. So that's the hot zone. We're not going in the hot zone. Okay? We're not going to go there until the hot zone's turned into a warm zone. So as we move forward, the hot zone is where the officers are going. So as they go forward, the hot zone's going to change, isn't it? So again, think about this building right now. Okay, if there's a shooter inside the building, the whole building's a hot zone. If the police came in that door and made it to this door, and I got nothing, is this becoming warm now? To a point, yes, right? Because they've already cleared and they're moving forward. So hot zone versus warm zone. So hot zone, danger zone. Things are going to get bad in there. Warm zone then, that's where we're going to work. That's swept for a quick sweep, and that's where we're going to go in now and actually assist the people. We're going to go in there and clear the area, make sure we can take care of victims, because it's safe enough for us to be there right now. But we're still going to have law enforcement protecting us, because if things can go bad, you know, really quick, maybe another shooter, something like that happens. And then the cold zone is outside of the building. It's outside the area. That's where we're going to take the people to once they're taken care of. You know, it's like every other cold zone. Everybody can work in the street clothes in the cold zone, and that's what we got to think about there. So casualty collection point. This has always been kind of an interesting topic when you look at what it is. So casualty collection point ideally should be on the first floor. Why on the first floor?
Easier to go.
Easier to get out, right? Can I get out a door? Can I get out a window if I need to? All kinds of options then, right? So we want to be on the first floor. But that doesn't mean if we are on the second or third floor, and I got 10 victims up there, we're not going to drag them all down the stairs, right, to be on the first floor. We may have to set up a casualty collection point up there to treat them first, and then move them down. But ideally, we want to be on the first floor. We want to consolidate as much as feasible. So if I have 2 or 3 in one room and 2 in the other room, if we can move them over, it's going to make life better for us. If we can't, then treat them where they're at. That's okay too. And we want to be closest to an evacuation point, so a way to get them out as close as we can. We want to be in a room that has a minimal amount of doors as we can. So if you look at like this room right here, we have 2 areas that we have to cover. So if I have police with me, they have to cover that door, or those 2 doors back there, and this room. We threw a 3rd door in here. Now I need 3 officers to help me cover this room. So if I have a bad guy popping in, they can take care of things. So the less doors, the less area for people to come into, That's what we're looking for with that. So closest to the evacuation point to get them out as quickly as we can. We want to be able to have a corridor that we can get them in and get them out. Say like the schools, Clinton School, Turner Schools, being mostly everything is first floor. It's really nice. We can pop a window out. Now we can pass people out a window and be that much more protected if we need to. Where you go to Beloit Memorial, where you're 3 stories up, a little bit different world there. So our assessment, here's what we're looking for. Simple, right? Responsive or unresponsive. Can I determine that right away? So I walked in the room right now and said, hey, if you're hurt right now, raise your hand for me. Okay? You get a bunch of people raise their hand. You can walk over here, walk over here. What have I just done? I sorted out really quick. So if they can raise their hand and answer me, right? We know they're conscious. We know if they can get up and move, at least they're walking wounded. They might have a hole in them, but you know what? You can move. That's good. I got you all over here. Now the ones that are left are probably the ones that we're going to have to deal with. That's our unresponsive, unconscious people. So those, again, just like everything else, we want to treat them first. Find the bleed. One of the things they teach in the thing or in the class, especially the TEMS class or the TEC, is to rake. When I'm raking like that, what am I looking for? Blood and holes, right? So if I find a hole, my finger's going to go in that hole. That's where the blood's coming from. So we got to kind of get that idea of find the bleed first. Provide interventions, 90 seconds or less. We should spend less than 2 minutes on each patient. So we're not doing a full head to toe. I'm looking for what's going to kill them right now in the next few minutes. That's what I'm worried about right now. And then move on to the next patient. So down and dirty, quick, easy, move on. Don't care about vital signs. I don't care about lung sounds. We're not starting IVs. We're not doing anything. Self-aid if possible. Here, put this over them. Hey, you can walk. Come over here and help me. Hold this over this wound. They found that people that can help, it's better for post-traumatic afterwards. It's the whole idea of feeling helpless. That's usually what drives people to kind of have issues in the end. They couldn't do anything. They laid there, people were screaming, they couldn't help them. Well, here, come on over here and hold this airway open for me. Stand there and talk to this person for me. You're giving them something to do, so you listen to that self-aid as possible as well. Turner and Clinton both, all the schools have the casualty care kits in the room. My problem with that is only enough in there to treat maybe 1 or 2 people, or 1 or 2 wounds, but they do have that stuff in there, so there is options there as we go through as well. So tourniquets, you guys have tourniquets?
Yes.
What kind do you have?
We have,
The plastic or the metal?
we have some of the orange, we have some cat.
Okay, the cat, you got any SWAT keys?
I don't believe so.
That's something you might want to think about because these kind of tourniquets don't work on kids. Or you get a small adult, they don't clinch down enough. And I got some SWAT tees we'll look at here. I might even have a couple sitting around still.
Some spares.
You can throw a couple over your way to get you started. They're not that expensive, but they're nice, packed down nice and flat. But they work great on kids. You can use them on adults as well, but they work really good on kids. You can't self-aid with them at all though. They don't work the way you got to wrap them. It doesn't work very well. But either one of these work well. Basically, you turn it until what?
Bleeding stops.
Bleeding stops. We don't worry about checking pulses and all that in this situation. We go until the bleeding stops, and that's as simple as that. Trauma dressings. Different types of trauma dressings. We can turn a lot of trauma dressings into pressure bandages very easily. But a lot of what these are set up for is they're, got a nice big wound pack in there to absorb the blood, and then they'll go on nice and tight. Wound packing. Okay, stuff it right down in the hole. It's going to help clog that up. And they have some that's treated with different anticoagulants as well. So that type of stuff. The only problem with that, they're very expensive, and they don't last very long. They're usually good for a year or two, and they're junk. So it's one of those things where, yeah, there's some benefit to it, but at the same time, nice clean gauze does pretty much the same thing in the situations that we're going to deal with. So wound packing is another idea behind it. Protecting the airway. Again, it's something as simple as that nasal trumpet. In the nose, open the airway, in recovery position. So think about, if we went into a room and we've seen 2 or 3 people laying in recovery position, what do we know about that room? It's been cleared, right? Somebody's been in there, so can I go to the next room first? You bet. Pass that one up, get to the next one. Then I can come back and worry about more treatment, but I got to get to the end before we go back and start over, and that's the idea behind it. So good. Sucking chest wounds. So basically, from the belly button to the neck, front and back, we're considering that a sucking chest wound in this situation. So we want to put something occlusive over that. The hypovents, these are nice because they self-vent. But anything sticky, plastic, all reality, if they're unconscious, even if they're conscious, if you took your glove, stick your finger in the hole, take off your glove, that's gonna do the same thing. We just wanna stop the air from coming in and out this hole, because what that's gonna do is collapse that lung. So anything in that, from the belly button up and around, we're gonna think about this, okay? Where do we pack? What kind of wounds can we pack? Whereabouts are good packers?
Well, in your chest or stomach, you put it back without a problem.
Okay, would I wanna pack the belly though?
No.
Is there anything to pack against?
No.
Okay, I could stick a lot, especially some of us, right? We could stick a lot of stuff in that belly, right? So what we're looking at is places that have bones next to it. So thighs, hips, upper body, up into the shoulder, up in those areas, those are good places to pack. Everything else, occlusive works really well on, especially chest and areas and stuff like that. Tension pneumo. So now we have that problem with the collapsed lung. What the medics can do, they'll go in there with this big old needle, shove it down in there, basically break through the lining around the lung, and or poke right in the lung, let that pressure out, the air comes out, inflates it right back up. Don't use them a lot, but we had one guy that was in a car accident, that guy on, I don't know, that was a whole shooting car accident, I'm really sure we fell out of the car or whatever. They popped both sides on him. Yep, so. Hypothermia is the other thing. As people lose blood, what do they lose? The ability for that body to cool and keep warm. So hypothermia is a big deal, so getting them covered up, keeping them warm as best we can is a good part of it. With these few interventions, remember, if we think about this, when we're getting into the situation, when you looked at these shootings, and you can take Vegas out of it, because Vegas obviously was a totally different realm than what we can deal with. But thinking of the school stuff, yeah, you might have 5 or 6 or 7 dead, or the one we had 17 dead, but of those, how many are injured as well? You know, 10, 15, 20 injuries. So we got to stretch our resources as much as possible. So we're going to use what we can, move on to the next one. Rapid assessment and treatment, and then immediate life threatenings are addressed on the most likely. Again, if you get there and they're still breathing and they got brain matter splattered, you know what? Their chances are probably pretty slim. Now, if that was the only patient we had when we work on them, you bet. But in all reality, if I got 5 other patients, that one I'm probably going to write off right now until we move forward. So that's kind of the idea behind it. Life threats, based on that, what's going to survive. Injury patterns, you know, what we're looking at, it's military type injuries. We're looking at bullets, we're looking at shrapnel, we're looking at those type of things. And we're looking at a lot of the military casualty stuff. And Addison's got the section we're going to talk about with the wound care stuff. It's going to get some statistics in there. But you're really looking at, the casualties we're looking at are a lot of bleeding, a lot of chest wound type stuff. So those are all treatable. I can take care of breathing issues, right? I can take care of some of that. I can stop people from bleeding. You know, it's the other stuff I can't help. I can't help a head injury. I can't help some of that stuff, but I can take care of this area, and I can take care of extremity. That's what's killing people. The guy in Columbine, that teacher up there, 3 hours he laid there. He bled to death. His injuries were bad, but he lived for most of that 3 hours. So if we could have got him out of there even 2 hours in, the survivability probably would have been high. But he laid there for 3 hours and bled to death. You know, close proximities, that's what we run into a lot. A lot of the shootings we've seen have been nightclub type stuff. Those areas where a lot of people in a small spot. Then you think about what you have here besides the schools, take that out of it, because you think statistic-wise schools are up there, but actually businesses and stuff like that have more shootings than schools do. But think of something like our festival we have down here. For somebody to pop a couple shots off, you know, even if you don't think about it as a terrorist event or as a shooting, you know, 2 guys get in a fight and somebody pulls out a gun and fires off 3 or 4 shots, it's not going to be hard to have a few people injured. And that's kind of the idea behind it when we look at close type stuff. Orlando, fatalities, 49 people, average 6.9 wounds per patient. 90% had a gunshot to the extremity, 78 to the chest, 47 to the abdomen and pelvis area, and 39 to the head. So you take that out of it, we're looking at 60% of the people that were shot were salvageable, just like that, weren't they? Okay, so that's the stuff you got to think about. You know, 90% of gunshots to extremities. Tourniquet can take care of that real easy, right? Tourniquet, wound pack, you know, those type of things. So, good stuff to think about. 16 patients, again, 32% with touch and survival injuries, 9 non-fatal lung injuries, 4 with fatal, non-fatal abdominal, extremities, junctional hemorrhaging, that type of stuff. So again, Easy to save if we can get to them quickly.
What's a junctional hemorrhage?
That's gonna be
Yeah.
the
Elbows or
groin and
shoulders.
Yep. So step one, we're gonna sort, right? Those that can walk can walk. And if you look at even what they're teaching the kids in the schools now, it used to be run, hide, fight. It's the same type of thing now, it's just they did it different. But run, get out of there. Yeah, you might be a target running down the hall, but again, how many people can they shoot going down the hall? How many people can I shoot when I walk in the room? There's no place to run. So get out of there first. So we got the same thing here. If we had a clear path out of there, into there, let's get the people that can walk out. So get those people out right away. Wave, personal movement, you know, those that can wave at me. Those we know are seconds to it, or assess second, and then our obvious life threats we're going to do first. So the ones that we can't wave, the ones that can't respond, treat them quickly, move on to the ones that can wave but can't walk, and then the people that can walk are our third. And then we look at the triage categories now. Green, walking wounded, sprains, abrasions, cuts, all that kind of stuff. Delayed, which we're not going to worry about too much. And then red, life-threatening. Those are the ones that are going to die. Gray, military uses the gray, which means you're not dead yet, but you might be real quick. And then black is the ones that are not breathing that they're dead. Again, we don't call them black until they are dead, but again, reality with us, if they have a massive head injury or they bled out more than what most people can handle bleeding out, then we're going to almost have to consider them as a black fairly quick. You can sit through that one. Life savings interventions, control major hemorrhaging. Addis is going to talk about that. Open the airway, chest decompression if we're able to do that, and then a rapid antidote would be if they have. That's when they get into more military-ish stuff. And you can flip through this. This stuff gets into the treatment and transport. Getting them out, checking ABCs, level of care needed, stabilize as best we can. We use TXA, the medics can, which helps control the bleeding inside. And then epinephrine, which get into the paramedic side, which get that heart moving. And then rapid transport, so that's kind of the care outside, really going to get things moving. So we flip over to the other slide and go through the wound care, then we'll come back to some scenarios.
Alright, so this is the workplace casualty care. So this is what we do in our commercial facilities that request it. Alright, so we're going to talk just very basically about some statistics, the vent seals, and mostly hemorrhage stuff. Everybody here know what the recovery position is by chance? It's pretty much laying on your side to keep the tongue from occluding the airway. So like Chief said, 46% are businesses and only 24% are schools. So the reason we always hear about the schools is why? Children in the media. It's a better story. So that's why it always seems like it's more of schools, but in reality it's businesses. So we know contact 911. Obviously protect yourself, like the run, hide, fight. They're teaching kids in school now, or the Alice, the fights, kind of pick up chairs and throw them, whatever that is, and provide immediate aid to your victim. So like we're going to talk about tourniquets and all that. You can skip to that one. Alright, so the main skills we want to learn today are the pressure dressings, wound packing, tourniquets, chest skills, and the recovery position. So they're all very basic skills, and even non-EMS providers can do all these. We've actually trained almost all of our law enforcement in this, and they do what's called TECC, which is open to everyone too. So this is similar to what we carry in the schools, if any of you are familiar with those kits that we have at Turner. Tourniquets, but we use the SWAT tees, emergency trauma dressings, which is just your basic old bulky gauze, compressed gauze, which is pretty much a hemostatic gauze without the hemostatic agent. C-Locks, the Z-Fold is also a compressed packing bandage, but it does have the hemostatic agent in it. Hyphen and chest seals, gloves obviously, shears, a permanent marker which we use for triage or marking different wounds, or we also can write tourniquet times down on the person, and an instructional card for mostly teachers and people that don't familiarize.
Where would you write this information?
Right on.
I mean, like where? On their arm, leg?
Wherever you can write.
Yeah, where you can see it.
Wherever's exposed.
In the military, they teach you to write right on their forehead,
Yeah,
the tourniquet time.
okay. Do you want to explain why that's important for some of our non-medical people?
Yeah, so the tourniquet time is important because they're really the only person that cares about it is the trauma surgeon. So depending on how long that tourniquet's been on, kind of dictates how they'll be treated as the time progresses. So obviously, the shorter time, the better chance, but the longer it gets, they're gonna be looking more towards amputation versus surgery, which is actually a pretty extended amount of time now than it used to be in the past. So bleeding, this is kind of a hierarchy, but we can skip steps. So direct pressure is obviously your first. Elevate, they don't really know how effective the elevation is, but obviously gravity is a thing that we all know about, so it should work. Pressure dressings are your next line of attack, I guess you could say. Wound packing, depending where it is, and then we go to the tourniquet with a windlass. It doesn't work to sit there and try to tie it as tight as you can, it's gotta have that windlass to tighten on itself. And we can skip these two steps, like I said, depending on where the wound is and how bad it is. If you can see like a brachial artery got hit or something that's pulsating blood out of their arm, don't try to pack it, just go straight to the tourniquet. So that's why these kind of have the asterisks next to them. So direct pressure, we all know how to do this, we were taught it at a very young age, especially if you're like a Boy Scout or whatever. Push down and hold. If it doesn't stop, we gotta progress through that hierarchy. These are some of the pressure dressings that we carry. Israeli bandage is a common one. The Oglias, I think it's called now. Some of these have just this little clasp that you can kind of tighten around on itself, and also some of them actually have, which I think is the Oleus, which should be this one, actually has like a little compartment in it, which I think we should have, that has like a bunch of like 4x4s stuffed into it. So you can use that, or you can just use it as additional packing on the pressure. So wound packing, where did Chief say we do our wound packs primarily?
Where you got substantial back
Shoulders,
shoulders,
hips.
Yep, extremities generally. Places where there's not a cavity that you can just pack a whole roll of gauze into, it's still not control the bleeding. What we use for that primarily is either the hemostatic agent or just a compressed gauze. The main difference is the hemostatic agent, but the reason we care is price. Hemostatic agent gauze, pretty much the cheapest, you're looking at about $30 for a package. Just the regular pack gauze is about $1.50. So, and the pack gauze doesn't expire, the hemostatic does. The hemostatic does have that agents which have proved to control bleeding better, but again, it comes at a cost. When we find that wound through our rake, we're gonna keep pushing all the gauze we possibly can into that wound until we can't fit anymore, and then you take the additional and put it on top. If you go through a whole one, take out another one and keep packing. Sometimes, especially in like a thigh, you could pack a couple of those into there, so could be a large void space around that. And try to use the sterile gauze for this. You know, there are other alternatives like shirts and stuff like that, but try to use the sterile gauze. And then hold pressure after you're done. With these different hemostatic agents and the packing gauze, after you get that packed, if you have one of those wrap gauze or even the SWAT T tourniquet like we'll show you here, wrap that around it just to keep it in place and hold that pressure there. So this is just some of the different brands. Can you go back one, Chief? They're using this in the military now. This is like an injectable hemostatic agent. We don't use that around here because it's more like a long-term thing, and it does come with some long-term effects from that. They used to show, or I'm sure you see it in the movies where they dump the packet on there and pretty much cauterizes the wound. They found that that's not the most effective way, and there's a lot of room for bacteria and stuff to get in there, so they went to the packing gauze. So the windlass tourniquet. This is the CAT tourniquet, it's called. This is the preferred tourniquet for SWAT use and military use, because you can self-apply it way easier than the metal windlass SWAT T one, or soft T, I'm sorry. So the saying is, go high or die. So if they get shot down here in the wrist, it's perfectly okay to put it as high up on the arm as you can, because what we found with the guy who got hit in the pelvis with an I-beam at Alliant was he got hit right in the groin area.
7 o'clock.
It's that time of day.
Now you'll have about 12, 20 cell phones playing.
Yeah. So at Alliant Energy, we had a guy, they were demoing the old power plant, and I'm not a demolition guy, but they cut the steel I-beam so it collapses the way they want it to, and then they wedge it until they're ready to collapse the building. So he didn't realize that this one beam was still bearing weight, and he tapped the wedge out, it compressed it, and then snapped it at the bottom and swung out and hit him in the groin. But what they found is when the femoral got cut, it retracted up almost to his heart. That's how much tension some of those arteries are on.
Oh,
So if we sever an artery down here, it could be up at the elbow. So you don't wanna go the 2 inches above it, just go high and be safe. And if it's still pulsating, what do we do?
so you keep it up?
Keep tightening up, and if that doesn't stop it, what do we have to do then?
I know.
Direct pressure, packing gauze, whatever you can.
So
So,
you have already up at the top of the shoulder, you can't go beyond.
yeah, moral of the story is that arteries do retract because they're under so much tension. Is that saying 4 to 6 hours now?
It did.
So these actually, they're saying up to 8 hours now. Actually, one of the case studies they used for tourniquets was a guy in, I think it was Black River Falls, got shot deer hunting. They tied the tourniquet on because that's all they had, and it was a shitty weather year, and he had it on for I think 8 hours and kept his limb. So that was kind of one of the case studies that they realized, hey, these tourniquets can stay on longer than we think. I know when I went to EMT class, tourniquet was like the last ditch effort. If you put a tourniquet on there, getting their arm cut off. That was pretty much just the way it was. Well, now they figured out this might be better than just packing it and trying to get to the hospital. So tourniquet application. Go high or die, like I said, so we're gonna go all the way up as high as you can in that groin on either side, and then pretty much into the armpit for the arms. If we do have a femoral artery bleed, like in the pelvic cavity, we do have a junctional tourniquet. We can't use it for regular EMS calls, but for SWAT calls, we can use it as a TEMS team, and Dr. McNeil carries one on MB1. So with the guy at the Alliant plant, there was nothing to, it was so open, I guess you could say, there was nothing to tourniquet, so he put that junctional tourniquet on there, and it kept the guy alive until we got to the hospital. So they do work, but they are hard to put on, and they are pretty advanced, so, and they're expensive again. So some of the alternative tourniquets that we could whip up really quick in like a mass casualty incident, it's just basic stuff that you'll have in every room. Belts do work, they're not ideal because you can't twist a leather belt very many times, but if that's what you got, that's what you got. So flags, one in every classroom still, I think. Cut a section off, put it on there, use anything for a windlass you can find. Maybe not one pen, but maybe grab like 3 or 4 pens, tie it up in there. Dress ties, scarves, tools are great for windlass, made out of stainless steel, hopefully, unless you got them like Harbor Freight. Screwdrivers, anything you can find that is not gonna break when you put that pressure on it. So bleeding, I'm sure anyone that's been around has probably seen some pretty quick bleeds coming out. Your car accidents are one of your primary places where your arterial bleeds. You can actually bleed out in like 3 minutes, or less even, depending on the size of the wound. There's a video that they use all the time from a guy out of Iraq or Afghanistan. He got shot in the thigh, and he bled out in like, it was like 90 seconds. And you could actually see the stages of shock progress, where you could see where he would try to stand up, and he'd get all dizzy and pass out. And every time he lifted his head up, all that blood from his brain would rush right down now. So you could actually see the stage. Actually, as morbid as it sounds, kind of a cool video to watch. If it's slow or oozing, that's when we can use our direct pressure. So that might be where you don't want to go straight to the tourniquet. Maybe you want to try the direct pressure, tie it up. It might be a venous bleed, which is not as dangerous, but it can kill you still. If you're unsure, like I said, go to the tourniquet. So our chest wounds. So these don't have to be your by definition sucking chest wounds. Any wound to the abdominal or thoracic cavity, chest seal, because we can't pack it. It could have hit the diaphragm. It could have hit a lung. So when in doubt, chest seal. Like Chief said, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see this is vented. So we're going to center this hole, which you guys will be able to see when we pull them out. Center this over the wound, and it's got the little channels here to vent air and blood out of. So it kind of takes away that step of taping the 3 sides down and venting it, like in your EMT books.
Right.
So we actually, not to trick or trigger, right, we're actually talking about getting rid of occlusive dressings. These are so much easier to use, and they do work better. They have almost the defib gel on it, so it sticks very well. Like I said, recovery position on your side. You can see they tucked his arm under here to kind of keep his head up from having that tongue occlude the airway, and just kind of let gravity be their friend. So,
This gets into the whole call 911,
Yeah, don't really need to know that.
high exposures, experiencing, okay, good.
So any questions on CARE? Like I said, we'll play with all this stuff, so you guys can see it, but none of it's that advanced. Like I said, we train teachers, high school students, even police officers know how to do it now. So it's not a complicated thing, but it saves lives. And pretty much everything that we have here for medical equipment was pretty much taken from the military. So guys that do have a basic understanding of medical stuff, but they're not doctors or paramedics or anything like that. You want to just go over some of this stuff really quick?
Yeah, go ahead, I'll get these handed out.
If we have anything like this, what, do we have a go-to channel that fire and police are gonna be on?
It's still, as far as, Gene can chime in on this one too, as far as I know, it'll still be the responding department's TAC channel that they'll use for kind of an operation thing, and we'll be operating on our different channels. But once you get into those RTF teams, they'll probably
wait for the
assign you
Packers.
a channel. So
That's
maybe,
real.
so say you're RTF team 1, they might say you're on the blue channel. Or RTF team, you're on the white channel. And overall, EMS operations might be on the red channel, or if it's in Janesville, North Fire Ground. Just like we saw in that video. So if Jeremiah had like an oozing wound up here,
Start with the neck.
we put that on there like this, and you turn it around, and that locks on itself. And you just keep doing that, and you can pull it pretty tight if you want, so. It almost works as a tourniquet, but it's not quite as,
Oh, it's not good.
not as tight. So that's one option. The beauty of this is it does lock on itself, so, yep. And you can twist this once if you want, but again, it can rip that, so be careful with that.
Looks like it takes a long time to set that one up.
This one's, it's not as quick.
But before, instead of kind of a tourniquet on it, an option.
Yep.
Yep.
And it will hold pretty good pressure. And this is the other one I talked about that's very common, it's the Oleus. So, you wanna hop back up here?
Started here.
Not quite yet. Same concept, this one does have the,
Did you guys see this?
one does have the additional gauze inside of there. So if you do wanna pack a wound, you can take that out and use it as your wound pack, or you can just use it as an additional portion of your pressure bandage. And you can see it's got this little plastic circle on there. So again, if Jeremiah's got that same wound, we can have someone hold pressure on that and wrap. And it has Velcro every so many inches that locks on itself. And they actually tell you to twist it every wrap, puts a little extra pressure on it. And at the end, it's got a little hook. That one's very easy to use. The thing I do like about this is that it packed in gauze that's stuffed in there. So if you wanna use it, it's there, if not, it's just a little extra absorption.
The other way to make that pressure bandage kind of old school way,
Yeah, they're pretty tight.
put a roll of gauze right over the wound and just pull your stretchy gauze tight around it, and that's gonna put pressure directly down on it too, so there's a few different ways to do it.
Well, this one you don't do, you just put this whole thing on it?
Put it right over the hole.
Okay.
I think that's it. As Chief also said, the needle decompression, this is a paramedic level skill only. So we got a 14 gauge needle that goes right into the
We
second
do need to
intercostal space.
demonstrate that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, hop back up here. All we do is we find that spot, pop it in there, and that slides off and that stays in the chest. So that leaves a permanent vent there. Generally, you get a lot of blood that comes up through that. Some air, mostly blood. We can pass it around, don't poke yourself, please. Nasal trumpets, everybody's seen these, we'll go over those. And the last thing we carry that's a paramedic level skill is the tranexamic acid. So this is a drug, all this does is it kind of takes the clotting ability out of your blood. So wherever that clot is that's stopping the wound, it just strengthens it. So it's not gonna hurt you if you got it right now, but it does do some pretty good things if you're hemorrhaging.
And where would they put that? Close to the wound or?
That goes right through an IV. So any IV you have goes right through there.
Okay.
Wound packing. So, we found the hole, right? We're gonna pack the hole. What you wanna do is you wanna pack towards the heart. So again, if this is my leg here, heart's this way, you wanna pack the material in and against where the blood's coming out. The ideal thing to do is find out where it's coming from. If you can find that vessel and pinch against it, but all reality is with that bullet going through, you're probably not gonna find that vessel unless you're digging. So what you're gonna do is start packing, you're gonna put it in, and then pack to it. Keep the pressure on it. And once you've got all that you can get in there on it, take the rest of it, put it up on top, some direct pressure, and then the last thing we would do then, go ahead and make a pressure range then. The best thing you do with this, is when you're putting pressure on, go up and then pull it across, and when you go down, pull it tight again. That's gonna keep getting it tighter. And this thing, if you wanted to, you could put a twist on it, that's gonna help keep that pressure where you want it. So that's wound packing. Okay?
And you'll actually see in military videos too, they'll pack a wound like that, and you'll see the guy limp, keep walking along limping with that on there. So people can be mobile with that packed.
And then the last thing would be tourniquets.
I'll stretch you one.
Yeah, I'll just do these on first. Quick. This one is easy to deploy. What I want you guys to do when we pass these around, I got like 2 different kinds, there's like 5 of them here, so as I pass around, put this one on yourself. Do it with one arm. So make your dominant arm, you got a hole in it, you gotta put it on when you're non-dominant, and see how easy this is to actually put on. So you put the tourniquet on, pull as tight as you can to start with, and then we're gonna crank. Crank until the bleeding stops, lock it in, and then if you can, mark the time. That's what you want to be able to do, mark that time. These are actually nice to use, but the problem with it are they don't self-deploy very well. If you have these, you can do it, but you have to physically like lay down or pin it down. The nice thing I do like about these is if you can get it to come off, is you can go like around a thigh, you can unsnap it instead of sliding it all the way up or around.
Right.
So again, same thing here, once it's on. The other part that's a little bit tough with this is it doesn't always fall, the lock on this doesn't fall in a good spot a lot of times. Some of the newer ones have 2 of these diamonds on it. You gotta get the diamond thing just right to be able to latch it in. So if you like get halfway around and it's done, you have to continue to go around to get the lock to get it in the right spot.
This is a more durable tourniquet though.
The last thing we have is the SWAT T tourniquet. Now the cool thing about this is, it gives you some directions here. See, it's got an oval and a diamond. You want to make that oval a circle and diamond a square. So that's how tight you want to pull it when you're pulling it. These are what the kids have in the school kits at school. If you get little kids, like little first graders or something, you can actually cut it in half. If you look at like this tourniquet, that's not going to fit around a 8-year-old's arm very well. Okay? So with these, the hardest part of this thing is getting it started, then finishing it. Because you have to physically actually get it to stay in one spot. So that first wrap is tough. So when you get a wrap on it, so what I like to do is just go around the first time nice and easy. The same thing here, the best way to do this one is leave it rolled. If you let it all out, there's nothing to pull on. So you're going to kind of, come up here and hold this way. So we're going to go and pull it tight, around, and when I come up, I want to pull it tight again, around. You can see how it's already starting to crush this thing down. Now the big thing here is you got to keep a spot to tuck that thing in. Okay, so I just like to leave my finger in that kind of the last wrap, and then it just tucks in on itself. And as this thing sits here, it'll actually tighten, the rubber will just tighten itself up on it too. So that's what that is.
What are the name of those?
That's a SWAT T.
SWAT T?
Those are about $11.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap.
We got all of them, just clip has to count so many.
That's what the kids have at the schools,
Yep.
yeah. So, what I want you guys to do is work in some groups. You know, everybody has a bullet hole. We'll pass tourniquets around. There should be in all these kits, there should be, if there's something missing in there, let me know. There should be packing gauze, there should be a ace type bandage, there should be a SWAT T in there. If you're missing something, again, let me know and I'll grab another one.
Damn cold season. Little bag.
We have some of these, one of them in the closet.
I had 2 of those in
Your medalist,
Well, until the period stops.
Like you were saying, like, that one there, if you get it crossways like this, you gotta go another half a turn to get it to that locking thing.
I do have some inclusives in there.
Now, it's on these on.
Now my bottom.
I can't
Really?
picture a scenario like that where I
Dying.
would want an inclusive as a hydrant.
That's the turn, yep. You're off the
They would have to be small time. How many points do we have?
You get that fully out, I'm still dying.
Want to give you guys a
So
kick?
I don't know.
Get over here.
I carry like 2 equipment in our travel bags. And then we have our RTF bag that we have. Well, this is all. I guess we did anymore, we have them.
So the black.
We give you different hyphens.
I mean, this used,
Mix in there.
This is
I
just
know
nothing more
the
than
gun shop, that's-
rubber.
You can use it as a, you can use it as compression. If it's not-
I know that's what matters.
if it's not as evasive as it's wider, so it's not gonna be as evasive as a tourniquet would be. Yeah, you can use it to wrap that and make a pressure bandage out of it.
I do carry a mix in case you don't like a pepper. Those are nice to throw on there. If you have to, but I don't like them. So I can throw you those.
I do like this.
And they're nice, and they're well packaged.
In the military, they have 3 different levels of gear.
Simple, real
They
piece, isn't
have,
it?
every soldier carries like
Close. Just gotta get it tight.
this, this, and they have combat lifesaver. Combat lifesaver carries basic
They come in
first aid supplies, an
You're
IV,
changing the game.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's actually bigger just to
and
keep
then
them.
there's combat medic.
you remember back in EMT class, I talked about these.
I was a combat lifesaver, so I carried one
You
in my
can
bag.
hold them.
I did, I'm telling you, you don't remember?
I'm not sure what it is.
I did, I thought you EMT back in the day.
So if you're paying as much as you can get.
And probably fire one, and driver operator, and.
So you got a quality education.
Driver operator?
No, I did, but
I will tell you this, when you're doing this, first thing you do, screaming their
The key to those is
about
keep
trying to
them
get you
rolled.
to stop doing
That's
this.
the key to them. In other words, when you get it all spread out, it's hard to get a good pull on them.
Now you can live.
But yeah, I got one on my desk that.
This is how you live.
Kid or something.
Not how you die.
Well, and if you wanna put more pressure
If
on
I do
there,
that, if I do that,
There's inclusive there.
Quality of life is there.
Yeah, you still would keep a couple, but I wouldn't buy a whole lot.
Yeah.
Just in there, don't waste a whole lot of time and energy on them.
Oh, yeah? What are you taking this semester?
tucking pool.
You're just doing the
Yeah.
MRI.
Which is why I like talking about it. because
Yeah.
I'm gonna go all the way to Paris.
I would've never known
Doing
that.
the MRI.
And most
So
people
one
don't
day I'm
even
gonna go all my girls
know.
like you.
But yeah, it's nice to come
Great.
you know, you in and out on.
Some little kid's bicycle tires missing.
I feel
And it
like.
takes 2 seconds to pull your cage and line it
It's kinda nice though.
half the time your
fail
medical
by
tape
two?
doesn't stick if they have any kind of, you know.
I gotta read.
splatter.
I try to spin it, I don't so well.
You gotta test me.
Evaluate you
I
again?
saw that. I like
Wait,
it.
Did you guys have iPads on your
Hold
bag?
it, test again.
Or just
I gotta
fast?
keep a hold.
No, they're good, they're, actually, if you like, somebody that like hunts or does a lot of traveling or works out in the fields or has a working shop in the garage,
On it.
I'd spend the $40 and buy a good tourniquet and keep it around, honestly.
Yeah.
Cause that's huge. And don't buy these are like $12. $10. Don't buy a cheap one from China,
Okay, you got.
Yeah.
buy a decent one.
if I'm getting one from China, I gotta have a guy from China.
It only stops Chinese
Yes.
blood.
Think you'd be the one to put it on you? My son gave me, he got hand warmers for me. He handed me a hand warmer and said, can you read the directions? It's like, dude, it's in Japanese. They work really good. I don't know if like the skin
Just use it all up.
They lost because you were there.
Oh, that game was horrible.
More of the battle.
These
I don't know if that's
like
exactly
high
why.
caliber.
That is funny.
I can't remember the rating.
Some, it should be on zone.
Four will take most rifle rounds.
Yeah, this will take
Over
off
here in
a
Old
high
Town,
caliber.
No, he doesn't. He's
really
so
hard.
horrible.
coming out.
Oh,
See, the one tourniquet is like a Bruce Willis deal, where you got put your arm against the wall, pull it tight, and bleeding out. Then he pulls it with his teeth and he thinks he's cool. Like, that's what that one is.
Okay.
This is, that's what like a vest would be.
22 and fight for
I know, I was just sitting there also.
What do you do with, see a bad thought in your mind?
I thought he was gonna be
That's what he is thinking, I know he was.
I don't know you.
Yeah, the nice thing too about having the metal, ceramic a little lighter.
I knew once I let it go, I was
We dropped this one time in ceramic. You're supposed to take it in and x-ray it to make sure it's still good.
And ceramics are only good for
Bob, you got your head over here, and that'll be able to get out.
That's shot.
And the plates are more expensive, because they expire.
Yeah,
Yeah, the carrier for this is probably like $50, and the plates are, yeah, the plates are probably
Plates are-
500.
No, but this is also.
Thanks for the prices.
Yeah, like, you know, you see like the deputies wear either underneath their shirt, that'll stop like 9mm and,
Knives.
Now I'm getting older.
this, yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
But I mean, if they wore this around all day, their backs would be shot after,
Everything's only at 4
you know, a
bucks.
couple
Oh,
of
yeah,
years.
for sure.
That's why they carry something like this, but they wear just the low caliber and staff.
Take my chances.
Yeah, exactly.
A whole lot of stopping power than that.
No, I think theirs go up to 40, and that's kind of
No, back there,
where, if you get hit with a bullet wearing this, you're probably still looking at pneumothoraxes and broken ribs.
Picture they got in,
Yeah.
took, just,
Oh, yeah, just because that sudden.
I mean, I know that it's. I feel like that would ricochet before it would actually
Oh,
absorb.
it'll ricochet, but your body still absorbs all that pressure. And you think with a high caliber rifle, go,
Yes,
double
we
speed
know
per second
that.
probably.
Yeah.
Good.
And also that's
Good to use.
getting the steel
A little
plate on
shorter,
your
but that's
chest, that
too big.
pressure
Oh,
gets
you-
over.
223 is,
Burger, you wanna get that burger?
you got a little duct tape?
2600, 2800 feet per
So,
second.
yeah,
But it's such a small bullet.
Whatever, that's
Yeah.
how we keep it on.
so that's got that, no problem.
Take it down to like what?
Yeah, you can go 36, 6 small.
Check, you know what, check your world, whatever you got.
Exactly. That's smart. That's your best bet to just avoid getting
Those
shot.
are our targets.
I packed it with dogs, and then I took
Those are all
it
bullets.
Give me some.
Yeah, but even though,
I do like that Israeli band, it's pretty neat.
yeah,
Work as a tourniquet with
yeah, those are pretty affordable too. And their vacuum seals are pretty compact.
We're gonna work at 3.
Nice.
Jeremiah, throw me that other one.
Okay, you guys, you have helmets or just?
We just only have. It's really hard to do it on yourself, but if you had to do it on a leg, you could do it. Yes.
Okay.
We do not have any. I know we went in with you guys when you bought that, but then I think
Yeah, we were on our own for homeless, I know that.
Scott, so.
You guys just budgeted in 4 over ours with our helmets, we're waiting for it when that happens.
We have them. I think it's a great thing.
25,
Yeah.
like that.
They're not 400, I know that. They're,
Oh, the helmets?
they're pricey, yeah.
It's doable.
Okay, vests. You guys have 4 of them. I would probably recommend either getting them into like a gear bag or something like that, so you can use them as a go bag. Or get them on whatever engine or whatever you're gonna take first. We have them on, we put them on our, the light has them on other engines. I think they have them on their ambulances now too, I think they have them on everything. We put ours on our ambulances, so both ambulances and our medic vehicle. Because you know, the way we respond, most likely them are gonna be either out first or probably second out anyway. Again, looking at you look at the old days of when all of us had played with the little army men, you look at the way the guys shoot back in the day with little green army men, they always shot like this, right? You look at how the military shoots now, how do they shoot now? Everything is forward, right? Why? We have the body armor, right? So we're taking the thing. Same thing here with this. So we're putting this on. Our area of protection is here in our back. So we want to stay this way, not this way. So if I have to go down, get pinned in a hallway, I don't want to turn sideways and make myself as small as I can. I want to make myself protected as much as you can. So you always want to keep that in front of you and then the behind. So when we're walking, we're always walking forward. We're not walking sideways, we're walking forward. When we go in, we're not taking all of our medical bags with us. Okay, so what I recommend is looking at either the Velcro pouches that can go on here, or something like that, or a little just a carry-on grab bag, something small, that's gonna have exactly what we just went through up here. You're gonna have, 4 or 5 nasal trumpets, you're gonna have a couple tourniquets, you're gonna have a bunch of little packaging for trauma dressings, and that's it. That's all you're taking in with you. I would recommend that you get a tourniquet on here that's your tourniquet, yours and yours only. So if something happens and it's the last thing going on, you got a tourniquet to take care of yourself. That's really what the last one's for. Most of your cops will carry 2 tourniquets, one for somebody else, one for them. They won't give up their last one.
That's the other thing to touch on as well, Ryan. For like the SWAT guys, if you go in there to treat a SWAT guy and they're down, use their stuff on them. Don't use the stuff you're carrying to treat them, because they have a full IPAC that's set up for just them. Open that up and start using their stuff on them. So save your stuff as long as you possibly can until you're at that casualty collection point or whatnot.
When you're looking at, again, cost and expense, I wouldn't waste the money and buying the big IFACs and hook onto your legs and all that stuff. I would just look at getting we have is, it's more of like a
Like a sling.
man per sling thing.
Satchel.
A satchel. And inside there, it literally, we got enough to treat about five people maybe, 10 people if we stretched it. That's all it's in there. And then we have a blue bag that has 10 basically of these kits with a little bit of a tourniquet in there. So we got 10 of those in each ambulance. So I can treat roughly 15 people with an ambulance in a pinch. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to take care of that, get us over that hump. So again, for a minimal expense, when you look at what's here, you can put together a pouch or something for each one, or a little go bag with each one that you can put with it. So when you go in, because again, we want to make sure our hands are free as much as possible too. I don't want to be carrying stuff in, because if I got to duck and cover, if I have to do something, I want my hands free. So a backpack or a little sling bag, something like that, that you can zip around and make work is really all you want to carry. So once you get these things on, the body's protected, enough to get in there, you're going to go in. When we go in, we're going to go in with police. And what we'll do is once we get done playing here, we got a couple scenarios we're going to go through at the end, and then we'll do some movements through the building here just to get a feel of what this would look like and what it would feel like. What I have coming up, and I'm working on right now, will probably be towards the end of the month. Chief Hooker, one of the Janesville PD, and myself have went through and retrained a bunch of the PD in the area with a train the trainer. And we're trying to set up, it's going to be probably 2 days, one for sure. We're going to run from like 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, 2-hour trainings. So when we get those dates, what we'll do is put it out to everybody. I'll put it out to you guys, and we'll send you up to the training center when you can in that time period, and we'll get as many people as we can get in the county to go through. So you might get there and might only be 2 of you come, but you 2 are going to get put up with 1 Town of Blake guy and 2 Milton police officers and a county guy, and you're going to go in and do scenarios. These will be bullets flying, yelling, screaming. We'll probably do one of them with simunition, so actually popping shots at you and everything else. So you'll get a good feel, and you'll treat in the tactical situation and kind of
Oh yeah, sign me up.
kind of what's going on. So we're trying to get this to the next level. So getting what we did here today is kind of the next step to this, is actually testing it. What you guys are going to have to do, this is something you're going to have to keep yourself acclimated with. Keep training. I mean, these are things you got. These are exercise things you got, like the old people use in the pool exercisers. That's what they are. Like the little old ladies that do the water aerobics. I didn't mean to. I gravitated there. But the little old ladies that do the water aerobics, that's what those are. So they were like $4. Drill the hole in them, threw bandages around, and that's what we practice with pretty regularly. Same with the vests. Throw the vests on, walk around, get a feel of it. Doing that, that's what you got to get yourself used to, because one of these things are not really comfortable. When you go to use them, if you don't know how to put them on, I mean, it's over the shoulder and go, it's not a big deal, but it's not gonna be adjusted to everybody, so you're gonna have to figure out how to adjust it so it fits you when it's time for you to put it on. Cause when this happens, it's gonna be a quick down and dirty, we need a team, and if you have the equipment and you're available, you can get thrown in a team very quickly, cause it's not gonna be, you guys are on a lot of Amos cards. So when you guys go, it's gonna be something that, it's gonna be snap, snap, grab your stuff and go. So you gotta kinda think about it that way. Good, good? Good with the bandaging? Yes?
What about chemical agents? Like tear gas or anything like that? Are police using those? Do we?
Not for that, in that situation. If they are, we're not going in yet, cause it's not a warm zone, it's a hot zone.
Okay.
If they have to mask up, then we probably won't be going in. Same thing if there's IEDs or explosive devices. We're probably not going in. If we are, we're going into an area that's been safeguarded around that, or it's already been made safe before we're going in. So, we haven't attacked that part of it yet. But yeah, if they're deploying gas and stuff like that, we're probably not going in until it's been dissipated. I mean, we could by rights throw an SCBA on again, but again, SCBA and a bullet isn't a good thing either.
No.
I didn't know like gas masks. If you guys had trained on those at all, you know, just
The SWAT
standard-
guys do, but they have their own, but we don't, because it's not a safe zone yet for us. So, cool? So we'll throw these scenarios back up? Yep. Should've worked when we had steel bottles.
Well, I have a bulletproof vest and it's like a quarter of the weight of this. Although, because I work security sometimes, I don't wanna get shot.
Okay, let's look at our colors here. So we got this guy, 22-year-old male patient, gunshot wound to the chest. On arrival, you find the patient lying on his right side, down on the ground, moving his legs a little bit. What color is he? We don't use yellow.
Right.
See red? I'd agree with that. Now what would our treatment be to this guy? Not seeing it, but thinking about what do we have? We have a gunshot wound to the chest. What would be our treatment? Something inclusive, right? Chest seal, something like that, probably be our best bet. Good. So,
Front and back.
45-year-old female with multiple gunshots wounds. Around you find a patient seated on the floor, and against the wall, no visible movement, but you see respiratory effort. Definitely a red, right? So again, making respiratory effort. So what would we do to this person right away? Okay, rake them, we find the holes, take care of the holes. What about the airway?
Oral airway.
Okay, nasal, we don't use orals. Nasal airway, get that airway open, lay them down, get that airway open. If they continue respiratory, great. If they don't, then what?
Move on.
Move on, very good. A shots fired off by Iowa stage in the adjacent parking lot near the command. After about 10 minutes, they have the shooter contained, is looking for RF team for entry. Okay, what do we need then? What equipment we gotta grab?
We should have our vest on, your bags. with
Vests,
helmets.
helmets, if you got them. Grab our bags. You know, again, we're not taking all of our bags, just our RTF bag, right, our go bag. Very good. So, looking at this building right here, I'm taking it that's our hot zone. There's our victims that are down. Maybe. Okay, green is our entry, I know that much. Back up. Green's our entry. If we have victims here, here, and here, let's call the yellow victims. What would we think about would be a good area for a casualty collection?
Conference room, the first one is
Which one?
the middle high triangle. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say-
Well,
There's only one way in or out there.
Office room on the bottom left corner, because that only
Office.
has the two doors that are manageable, where the conference room does not have a door. So anyone can get in and out right easily.
Yeah, what's one of those doors?
And exit.
What's the exterior door?
would that be a good one?
Yeah.
That'd probably be the best one, right? So we gotta exit out. What, if we can't get to there, probably one of these would be better, right? Because again, we have one way in. This is a great room here, right? Great big room, it's gotta exit out, but what's the other problem with this room?
Too many doors
We got a lot of doors to cover, don't we?
and a window.
Okay, exactly. We got glass, it's not a good spot there. So any of these interior ones, if we had to use this, would this work? You bet, it would work, nothing wrong with it. But again, now it's our exit out is the problem, so, very good.
Do you also want to stay away from the hot zone as much as possible? Because I
Yes.
mean, especially interior walls, bullets can penetrate
You
multiple
bet,
walls.
as far away as we can. Again, this is kind of like, I think of this as radiation, time distance shielding, right? Farther away, the better. The more shielding, the better. If you can see the hot zone, then the hot zone can see you. That's the kind of thing to think about with bullets. You can see the shooter can see you, and that's the thing to always think about. Good. Yeah, 8 casualties located, they said. 1 gunshot to the chest, not responding. We took care of that one. Arm, talking, and Kamul. What do we do with the arm?
So, yeah, come this way.
Throw him some bandaging, right? Pack it up, get him moving, very good. Gunshot to the head, not responding, not breathing.
Move on.
ERT. Okay, they're dead ones. Lower back, talking, minimal ability to move self. Be red, yep. We're looking at bandage them up if we can, maybe occlusive, depending on where it's at in the back. We're gonna have to move them. Gunshot to the leg, talking and can move. Bandage them up, send them other way, right? Abdomen confused but follows directions. Okay, red. Get abdomen, can we pack an abdomen? Nope, so we're gonna bandage is all and move on. Done for uninjured people. What can we do with those uninjured people?
Have them help the others.
Can they take care of the arm? Can they help the guy with the leg wound?
Yeah.
You bet. So that's kind of the idea behind that. Could they carry somebody out if we needed them to? You bet. You know, possibly, isn't it? So good. Triage area. What do we need in triage? So what do we do in triage?
Decide which they are. If they're
So we
red,
resort,
green,
we separate. Right now, yellow can come into play very easily here.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at, we're in an area where somebody's making a medical decision on them, right? So triage, kind of the three T's. Triage, treatment, transport, kind of all go on in that area. So again, we get everybody needs to go to triage. At least funnel through triage. Even the people that are not injured, they need to go out that way. That way we can herd them up and get them through where we need to get them through. Central locating for presence of everybody that's affected. Prepare for additional patients, all that kind of good stuff. That's where our transport's gonna be. And then we're looking at a number of locations so we can identify hospitals where we're gonna go. Do the guy with the arm injury, where does he need to go? Does he need to go to the closest hospital?
No.
Probably not, unless that closest hospital is a small, could that guy with a gunshot to the arm go to a urgent care?
Sure.
You bet, right? We'll take the chest injury to the trauma center, let's take the other ones to the urgent care. They can patch him up and get him stabilized and ship him out later, right? That's kind of the idea behind it, good. So send him to the right spot. This is kind of the SALT triage.
This is the one that actually gives the colors.
What's that? This gives us the colors in here?
Yep.
So gunshot wound to the chest, not responding. We did a needle decompression on him. Still no longer breathing. What is he?
Dead.
Black. Gunshot wound to the abdomen, confused but follows directions. No intervention performed by RTF. Ongoing slow bleeding.
Red.
Okay. Gunshot wound to the arm, hemorrhage control with tourniquet by RTF.
Green.
So yellow would be the main one, but again, inside the building, it could probably be a green. Now, before the tourniquet, what was he?
Right.
Probably red. We can make them better, right? And that's the idea to think about. Good. Lower back, control with bandaging.
Yellow.
Let me skip that one.
That's a red.
Gunshot wound to the leg, initially controlled, now appears to be bleeding through the dressing. Red, right? Because bleeding's bad. One hemorrhage controlled by tourniquet, placed by RTF.
Yellow.
Okay, then it goes to yellow. Well, that is a red.
The dude up there just started bleeding after seeing the other.
Oh,
You had one job.
we talked about this a little bit. Viewing victims in a space stage. Good. So this makes sense.
It does.
Okay. I know the class that Scott does, there's a lot of history to it, and we brought this because this is more down and dirty, what you need. I mean, history we know. Columbine is old history now. Columbine was kind of the aha moment for fire, because they got there and we had no idea what to do. It was really big aha moment for police, is what did the police do? They stood outside at Columbine and waited for the SWAT team.
Yeah.
SWAT team went in and took care of stuff. That was their like, holy smokes, we gotta do something different.
All right.
And then probably the biggest one for us was the Aurora shooting, which was at the, in the movie theater. That was the one where they put the EMS across the street, in the parking lot across the street, the stage, and the majority of the people there were transported by police cars.
Police cars, yeah.
And drunk, and that's where they realize, you know what, we're not doing the right thing, we need to get in there and start treating people as well. So those are kind of the two big moments. You look at Columbine was a long time ago.
So it was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. And it's weird when you look at the society we have today, especially if you have young kids or grandkids, they don't know anything different than school shootings, they don't know anything different than, you know, the wars, and, you know, they don't even, you know, the little kids now, 9/11 is history to them, it's not even reality to them. So when you look at that, it's a different new thing going on. So we have a lot of problems right now with old mentality teaching young kids. So trying to get the schools to understand that we don't need a code red and a code blue. Tell them what it is. Lockdown for an active shooter. Everybody understands that, and they're trying to be soft with it because their generation, we didn't have that, so you don't want to freak everybody out. But our reality is we need to freak them out. They need to know that it's bad, take cover. Not just, oh, what color was red? Let me get to my little matrix on the wall. Okay, oh, that's bad. You know, it's get rid of all those fancy codes and go to real world stuff. Tell us what it is. And that's just generational differences right now is, you know, we didn't grow up with that and it came along and we had to deal with it where, again, the kids that are in school now, that know what's going on, that middle school on up, they don't know anything different than school shootings. They've been school shootings their whole entire life. So it's not different to them like it is to us. So that's kind of that mentality that's got to change, which is tough to do. You look at changing cultures, so. Okay, let's take about a 5-minute break here, get up, stretch. We'll come back in here, we'll grab the vests, and we're gonna go around and do a little bit of tactical movement here and see how it goes. Have it's more of like a
sling.
man per sling thing.
Satchel.
A satchel. And inside there, it literally is likely, it's gonna be a quick movement through. It's not like slow and methodic, but it will be a little quicker than what the normal move in because they know the rooms are fairly safe to get to. They're probably gonna be enough for us, it's gonna be more stopping and starting. They're gonna stop us, hold us, move forward enough to get the angles they wanna be able to see, and then move us up. So, you know, I'm guessing probably more just simple stuff of, you know, stay back and come on. We don't really have anything set up where it's, you know, they talked about that stuff with the tactical, and it's like, we wanna take all the tactical out of this. It's not tactical, because most of your patrol officers don't understand, they know about as much about tactical as we do. They did a little bit in the academy, and that's it. They don't know anything about tactical SWAT type stuff. So that's what we're trying to do, is bring this down to the patrol level. Because even a SWAT guy is a patrolman when he's doing this. He's not, doesn't have his team with him, he doesn't have his communications, he's going in just like everybody else is, running the front door and go to the shots and put them down. Because that's the old days it used to be go in and contain, now it's going to kill. They're going in there to stop the killing. That's exactly what their job is. Go in there and take them out. It's kind of the military. I remember my son when he was military police, and he called me and said, well, I only died 3 times a day in training. It's like, well, that's, you know, good job, kid. But again, the military, you got a sniper up in a room, what do? Keep piling guys in, because eventually they're gonna get enough guys in that room where they're gonna overcome them. And that's kind of the idea. The same thing here. Keep sending officers in until we take the guy down. Once the guy's down, then we can set up the next stage. So that's kind of the idea behind it. So, different world. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you guys coming down and talking to us.
We'll get everybody sign in as being here.
Is there a sign-in sheet?
No, it's on your.
I'm responding.
I'm responding.
The high-tech thing we got.
Yeah.
You want everybody and then like just the EMS or?
Give us everybody. We can pull them out.
So then you're gonna get with us when you guys are gonna start some of the.
Once we get some training, as soon as I get the dates from Hooker, I'll get those to you too.
And basically, you guys gone through the basic stuff, so you don't have to be an EMR or an EMT to come through and do this training. If you wanna get on it right now, more power to you, so. And then I know we were talking a little while ago that you might have some ice training coming up.
Yes, it's gonna be February now, I think.
February?
So it'll be the first Thursday night and first Friday morning is the plan right now.
So we don't do any ice training here ourselves, but if you're interested in seeing what's going on, you can certainly go over there, observe, and they may even put you to work. So I know I'm interested and I wanna go down and partake in that.
Is that when, the first Thursday?
Second February?
February.
First full week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pushing Mustang suits and.
What time are you meeting at the station, 1 or 2?
If you're there by Station 1, if you're here by 6, well, 6:30 is when we start, so
So be there around 6.
if you're there by 6:30, we'll get you rocking.
What day is it?
It's first Thursday and or Friday morning.
That's the
Thursday
pancake
night.
feed set up that night.
We're setting up pancakes,
Yeah,
so
we're
nobody
setting
here can
pancakes.
come.
Oh, that's true.
That is true.
But we can, if you guys want, honestly, we can, we have all the stuff. We can even have one of your training nights, if you wanna just meet at our place, or meet down at the river, we can throw you in the water. That's no problem at all. We can go through the suits and put you in the water.
Katie volunteered.
Or
Sean,
come out
make
here
sure
and
you're
just
free
go
that
through
night,
suits.
buddy.
But yeah, that's not a problem. We can do that anytime even. If you wanna just schedule it on a training day or something
Okay.
like that, we can do it, you know, outside of that too, if you want it.
Yeah, it's easy setup.
So, yeah.
Probably gonna be something we can discuss for.
Yes.
Great, you got another training done. You're doing good now.
I'm smoking right now.
We only got 10 left.
Well, I got that Denver drill in my mind. If you guys can do it tonight, I was thinking about going to use your Denver drill.
Anytime.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know a lot of people have not done that drill.
that's a pain in the ass.
You wanna work? That's the Denver drill, yeah. You'll learn.
Yeah.
You'll learn.
You'll hate me when you're done.
I could never hate you, Brian.
Doing that one. Yeah, that's what Jason said, what are we gonna do? I said, well, if Gene can't come tonight, we're gonna go do that.
Pancake machine. Turner had an issue with one of them, so, we'll get it early, get it out early for you guys, and then if we gotta get anything, let me know. We'll get, if we need a new coupler or something like that. We'll get it going early this year.
What do you mean?
Well, whatever you guys, just so we have time to make sure.
Oh, we'll probably pick it up Sunday before.
Okay, yeah, let's say if we get
So we
some,
can get it
get them fired up, if we
fired
have
up.
issues, let me know, and we'll get parts and, but we didn't really spend a lot of time with it. They don't know why they took them both, they never used them both, they thought they were gonna have a huge crowd, they
Huge
couldn't
crowd.
get the one lit, and one's all they need. They said they had problems with it, but we didn't really look at it, and I know you guys were gonna pull it out, and with all the construction going on over there, it kinda held us up doing it in the summertime, so. But yeah, if we get it and take a peek at it and see what's going, if we have to do some rebuild, just let me know, we'll get parts and get it
the
going.
week enough time?
Oh, yeah, I think so, that should be no problem.
Yeah, like Dan says, as long as we get it early and start up, figure out if it's a couple or something.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure what it was, I know one of the thermal couplers, we had to throw some heat to get it going, a little bit of a effort, so. Yeah, anything we can do combined, I know, we're gonna have a house on, the house in front of Prairie Avenue Concrete, that little yellow house,
Oh,
we're gonna burn that. So I'd like to do some rural operations with that. The house isn't much to burn, cause it's pretty crappy inside, it's been, but at least we can get some, that in the shed, not the barn behind, but the shed behind, we're gonna burn.
What's your
as well.
timing on that, you think?
Probably springtime sometime, probably after our pancake beats, probably after we May. We'll get that one down, and I still got a barn out on St. Lawrence to burn too.
When's your guys' next time go like this?
The fourth Saturday.
Fourth Saturday of the month?
Yeah, I'll get that schedule out to you. So that'll start, we went to a different shift, we're working, full-time guys are working a 48.96, they work 48 hours straight, but they're off for 4 days.
Oh.
So we're doing Saturday training, so the first training of the month, the first Saturday, this month's gonna be a little jacked up because we're just not quite there yet, but the first Saturday of the month will be, officer training, second one will be fire, the third is EMS, and the fourth will be MPO, every month.
Is that morning or evening?
It'll be morning like 8 to 11,
Okay.
something like that, somewhere in that time frame. So that'll be kind of coming up here, starting probably hot and heavy next month, but this month it'll be a little light to get going.
Sure.
So we'll have that available. And then we're working on that calendar for the county, so there'll be some more
Yeah,
opportunities that'll be out and about. So,
yeah, I gotta go to Cal and get working on it too.
so I think Leanne's got the calendar started and ready to go. We've been playing with it and testing it,
So
so,
what we're working on,
yeah,
so far.
so, okay.
Good.
Anything else, let us know.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you.